We will give it just a minute till we get Tyler and Melissa on. Thanks everybody for tuning in for a bit. It'll take us a second to get the others joined. There we go.
Hi, friends.
Oh, look at that.
Yo.
Hey, guys.
The first time I've done this with
Everybody's
headphones,
ready.
like an actual human being.
I don't think I've ever done
Yeah,
it
but you
with
got like a house and
headphones.
space, and I got like 600 square feet and neighbors, and yeah,
Reasonable.
it's different.
Right.
It's different. It's different.
There we go. Midriff Leather says hello.
Hello.
There's Bo the Maker. All kinds of folks joining in. We got all kinds of pot to stir tonight, don't we?
Yeah, I think so.
So for because I think between the three of us, we've got a decent group of folks coming on that may not know each one of us individually. That may know one of us or two of us, or only the special few know all three of us. Like we're superhero Voltron that nobody really knows that we assembled to the grander being or whatever. So if you guys want to go like give your 3-second intro or whatever. Melissa, we'll let you go first because you're the guest.
I'm Melissa. My friends all know me as Turbo. I'm just a leather worker like the rest of y'all.
Wow. Check.
You're average leather, and you're physically based in
in the middle of
BC,
nowhere.
Canada,
I'm on
right?
like a very small island. I think we got about 1,300 people over here. So the whole like cabin in the woods thing, I live that.
So you are definitely the most experienced leather worker on the island.
I think there's one other company over here. They make I want to say bags and stuff. It's not really it's
Okay.
interesting. It's not my taste, but it's nice. So
They are craftspeople in their own
Leave it
right.
at that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Cool. I'll go. I'll let you go last, Chuck.
All right.
For those who don't know me, Tyler, based out of Denver, Colorado. Been out here for it's like a year and a half now. I spent the last whatever it was 7 years, I want to say, in New Jersey. Kind of started HFA Goods, about 5 years ago now, while I was sitting at a coffee table in a small apartment in Jersey City. So that's kind of where this magical dream came to life. Now I'm just kind of riding it out and reaping all the benefits of being a small leather crafter who, sells a couple things every couple weeks. And honestly, I haven't told you this, Chuck, but it's like, I haven't really been making much of anything recently. And like these Thursday night things that we've been doing is like kind of the only thing that like brings me back to like my workbench right now, because this is where I set up. If you were to look at it right now, there's like nothing on it because I've just been procrastinating, which is good. And I'm totally cool with it. And you know what? It's winter in Colorado, and I've skied 20 times this year, and I'm not going to change that. So yeah, a little bit about myself. I know there's a ton of unlike Melissa, there's a ton of leather workers, crafters in Denver. I mean, I can name probably 5 or 6 off the top of my head right now. Had the pleasure of meeting at least 2 of them. No, sorry. Probably at least 3 that I know of. And then, in talks of, meeting up with a couple other guys. Actually, I have this hat's from Steamboat Leather out of Steamboat Coleman. Great guy. Met him in a market. Yeah, I mean, it's just weird. Denver's like kind of obviously it's a very artsy town in itself, but there just happens to be a lot of leather workers here as well, which is really cool. you know, and everyone that I've met so far has been awesome. So that's a little bit about myself. I'll shut up, let you talk, Chuck. I know you love talking.
Yeah, exactly. That actually, at professional work the other day, someone was like, "Yeah, I know you like to talk, and we're going to have to ask you to rein it back." I'm like, "Okay, cool, I got it. Feedback accepted." Yeah, Chuck Baylog. I am based in Atlanta, Georgia, so we have a pretty big community of leatherworker folks around here. You know, we've got the privilege of having District Leather Supply in town as well, so that's a nice hub where I think Bill mentioned he's going to start up meetups again. Where prior to COVID, about once a quarter, he would just open up the shop on Saturday mornings for a couple hours, and you know, met all kinds of good people in there. So hopefully we'll start that up again soon. But yeah, and I've been doing this since 2017 or so. So metalsmithing, leatherwork, and all the stuff in between. So yeah, now that everybody's familiar with this, I know we got a couple questions submitted. Do you guys want to get into the questions first, or do we just want to go a little open format?
Let's start.
Because for those at home, we have no plan for any of it. This is just wing it.
Okay, I
think Tyler
like,
froze on us
I
for a
have really
second.
slow internet, so I'm like, oh shit, is that gonna be me
You got-
freezing?
You guys got me now or no? Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what.
Yep.
I don't know. Sometimes it pops
There
in
you
and
go.
out, but I'm indifferent. I mean, I think there's obviously never a format with these things unless Ryan's talking like he did last week or the week prior, which I think was awesome. So I'm down for answering those questions that you had passed along earlier, Chuck. If Melissa's down with it, and maybe we just do like maybe we just each give like a quick 30-second response, and if we ramble on and get long-winded, then someone's got to rein us back in. But I'm certain
Somebody in the
I'm
the
sure
washing can bring
I'm
us back
certainly
in.
not going to be the police
So I think
officer. I can leave it at that.
oh yeah, no, not me either. So I think the one that was probably closest to Melissa. So Tyler, you and I don't do this for our main source of income, but I can't remember who asked it, but somebody said, "Hey, what's your best advice for someone who wants to get into leatherwork as a profession, as a career, as their sole line of business and way to earn an income?" And Melissa, I know you've got some experience.
A little bit. I don't know. I'm not exactly the picture of success, to be honest. I'm very fortunate that I live in a place where I don't have heavy overhead. If I was back in the city again, there's not a chance I'd be doing this full time. I actually had originally started this company, I think back in 2015 or 2016. And because I was living in Vancouver and rents were insane and I had 4 jobs, I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to sell all my tools, pay my rent, and just write off this whole chapter of my life. And it wasn't until we're, locked down and whatever, when you got to figure out a way to work from home, I did it. But I think the best piece of advice is Eric from Quarter Leather always says, until you're losing money going to your day job, it's not worth making it like your sole income, because it's difficult. Like I said, if I was somewhere like a city or I was paying a lot of rent, this wouldn't be it. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that was the piece of advice that always stuck with me. So Eric Porter was basically, his story was, yeah, I was doing this on the side. He's like, and I had such a backlog built up that I was actually losing money by going to work. I think his story was he was working at a retail job of some flavor. And he was basically losing money by going to work a retail shift instead of staying at his bench and working on, pushing out products. So and I've had lots of conversations about this with a lot of different people, and it's, because I think we the 3 of us were chatting earlier today, where there are some personalities that are involved in this community that will make you think that you can spend a certain amount of tools on tooling and whatever else, and then all of a sudden you're going to be successful and you're going to sell all kinds of stuff and it's going to be great and you're going to go live your dream and go do all this stuff. And I know in a chat group that I'm in, and I saw Ryan was on, you know, he's always the voice of reason because, you know, his whole thing is you never know. Somebody on social media can present themselves as incredibly successful at this, yet they have an absolute mountain of debt that's backing them. So they're going to show you what they want you to see,
Yeah.
and they're going right. I mean, they're going to make it look like they're this incredible, thriving, you know, thing, but they're not making it. I mean, they're doing it off a credit card, which, you know, is great for a
Shout
hobby,
out,
right?
shout
I mean,
out Uncle
that's,
Maskin.
but when you're trying to make it go, yeah, exactly.
Starting.
Yeah, Ryan, Instagram's a bed of
It's
lies.
starting.
And there's Don, Illusions of Grandeur. I mean, it's because, again, we all want to present that what we're doing is great and successful and all that other stuff, right? I mean, it's not that I'm going to show up and go, you know, I haven't sold shit in about 3 weeks and I'm struggling to want to work at all doing this stuff and whatever else. Nobody shows up and says that. You know, you take, everybody's just
Yeah.
throwing darts in the comments.
Yeah.
But I literally said that this morning.
But that's,
Yeah, this is all brought up from
Yeah.
right.
previous.
I mean, it's like, yeah, gloves are off. We're gonna sell some bump jigs here in a second. We're all gonna retire. But yeah, I mean, it's you know, I think relatively few, and even, you know, and because he doesn't own the company more, Parker from Stock and Barrel, like they were relatively disingenuous about making it look like they were making everything when they had farmed out all of their production. So it made it look like they were still producing handmade goods, you know, wherever, when they had signed a freaking production contract and they weren't touching anything other than just doing the design. So, you know, which again is a valid business model as long as you're honest about it for me. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I think I'll go back to kind of the main topic, I guess, before we really go off the rails here, because I think we're close.
I'm stuck on the edge.
Yeah. I think we got a couple wheels down. We got 2 out of the 4 wheels down. But I mean, as far as I guess my thoughts on the full-time thing, and you know, unlike Melissa, I don't, and like Chuck, like I don't do this full-time whatsoever. You know, I've had brief moments in time, you know, while I'm laying in bed, not being able to sleep, thinking, hey, wow, it'd be really cool to make things, you know, full time, or it'd be really cool to get into a lot more stores, or it really lasted about 2 minutes, and then I realized, like, oh shit, like I actually have like a pretty decent job that you know, pays all of my bills, and you know, I have, you know, someone who takes care of all of my, you know, healthcare and so on and so forth, which is obviously so important, right? So, you know, to the to the main point, I guess, is I think it's at face value, I think a lot of people think about it, and I'm guilty of it. I think that once you spend more than 5 minutes to really like think about what it is to run a small business, and think about how much volume you actually have to push out to make what it's something would be comparable to what I make in my day job. Like, I'm one person, I do everything by hand. You know, I'd have to go down the road of buying machines. I'd have to go down the road of potentially bringing in someone else, probably buying some sort of workspace, which is all overhead that I obviously don't have right now. I mean, I could get on my bed butt naked if I wanted to, come over and make a wallet, you know, and that's that, right? I don't have to worry about going to a space, or, you know, so on and so forth, or firing up a machine, or, you know, paying for crazy electric, whatever it is. So long story short, I'm happy with where I'm at. But I've definitely had moments where I'm like, oh man, this would be kind of cool. And then you realize that, you know, not being able to pay bills, and, you know, do fun things and ski and all the other shit that I want to do, like not being able to do that is not cool. Right. And, working all the time is going to take away from that. So, that's my 2 cents on the whole thing. I really respect Melissa's, you know, kind of touch points on her, because I think it's very, very relatable. I just haven't gotten to that point yet. But I think a lot of people could probably benefit from having a conversation with her.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I think it is too, like we touched on, look, during our group chat or whatever. But I mean, I really did fall for that glam and bullshit on YouTube when I first got back into it. Because when I originally started doing leather work, there were no tutorials. Like I had to figure out how to set studs and stuff from like folded up little old Tandy slips and whatever. Like it wasn't the way that it is now. And so when I started kind of going down that road and I'd see these makers and like, I'm trying not to like drag people through the mud, but like, you know, people like, you know, fuck it, Little King, who, you know, has these grandiose videos and he's
there
like,
you go.
you can tell at the end of the day, he's trying to sell tools more so than build knowledge. But somebody like me seeing that and I'm like, oh, this is a dude with a garage who like bought a bunch of stuff, you know, started making things and like, oh my God, this comment section, you guys.
It's wild. It's wild.
Calm down, kids. But
only hands.
But like,
right.
What do I do with my hands? But as like an outsider looking, you're like, oh, this is easy. If this dude can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? And there was never, a lot of people don't talk about the struggle or the, you know, like you said, Tyler, like the live work balance. Like I'm one of those people that like, if I'm not making stuff, I'll go nuts.
Sure.
So it's like, I just kind of project that into work. So I'm like, I could either sit here and draw for 12, 14 hours a day, or I could like draw on some leather and essentially like make something or whatever. But
sure.
When you try to monetize something that you love like that, it gets tough.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. No, and I think that just to touch on it, and then Chuck, you can step in, I guess. I think the one thing that has always been kind of a fine balance for me, and something that I wouldn't say I'm struggling with right now, or it really isn't a problem whatsoever. So I'm not even going to pretend like it's a problem. But like I don't make a ton of shit. I don't sell a ton of shit. Right? I'm here. I'm active on Instagram. That's cool, and I make friends, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like once it becomes like sitting down to make something because you feel the need to make it, and Chuck and I have had this conversation on previous lives that we've done. Like I don't do well in that situation. Right? If I have to sit down and I have to make a wall for Melissa because she's been waiting for 3 weeks, and I have to make that wall, like there's no joy that's coming out of that. Like again, like we all love making things. We can all sit here and pretend and put out the fuzzy bullshit and whatnot, but like you're not going to sit down for an hour and a half and enjoy that. Like no way. You want to get that thing in an envelope as quick as possible and out of your sight and into a mailbox and into someone's hands and hope that they enjoy it, right? And that's, I think, something that's huge. That's something that I think a lot of people need to understand, because, you know, making a wallet for fun and taking your time and so on and so forth for a buddy is great. Being pushed with a deadline and understanding it's someone that you've never met before and someone that might not have a relationship with you and you have no idea who they are and you don't want to make the wall because you could care less about the style of wallet they picked and the color combo that they picked, that's a totally different story.
Yeah. No, there's nothing that'll make you hate doing this like it being like an actual job, and it's like, God damn it, I have to ship out whatever it is. I mean, that's my struggle with Etsy, right? So Etsy has like, they will ding you if you don't ship shit out by a certain date, whether you want to or not. It'll affect your seller rating. So if you say that XYZ product is going to be out in 5 days, if you don't ship it in 5 days, they start to dump down your search rankings and whatever, which is, that's the game you play, right? So but I mean, to the point, if you're not excited about making something and different because I do a lot of custom work or whatever, so which I love doing. Like, cool, I want to talk to somebody and figure out what they want and make something specially for them and all that other stuff, right? But the concept of just like sitting out and churning out widgets for the sake of profit is not something that appeals to me. But that's what you have to do if you're going to turn this into a business, or you have to have such a strong following that you have a backlog that's 6, 8, 12, 6 months, whatever, that you can support working on what you want to work on, and people are willing to wait for it. So it's the struggle everybody has to get through, and you got to unfortunately, you got to kind of find your own way through it. There's nobody that can tell you, do it this way and you'll be successful. You got to figure that shit out.
Got a little question here, just because I'm monitoring the chat here, mid Rifters Leather, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I think this kind of ties into I think someone who had reached out to you, beforehand or whatever, asking a question, and maybe I'm just making this up or whatever, but I think like this might have been like along the lines of one of the questions I was asked. So I think it's a really good, question. I'm gonna hop in the time machine real quick and just kind of transport back to whatever it was 2017, I think it was 2018 for me, when I started doing this thing or whatever. And I think it'd be kind of cool for all of us to just kind of touch on this question, honestly. But, can you give any tips or advice on how to get those first sales? I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think that before, and this is just from my experience, and maybe you guys have something different, but I think rather than get super excited about getting online, having a website, having an Etsy, doing a market, any of that kind of stuff. The first thing that, and again, none of us are sitting here making millions of dollars. So let's preface this by, let's just get that out of the way. I think what's really important is getting your product in the hands of people that you trust and are going to be able to provide you with honest feedback, right? Maybe that's a wall for, whatever, your brother or sister or something like that they're going to like no matter what. And that's kind of where I think that's where I started, and then that turned into, sister telling so-and-so and so-and-so telling so-and-so, whatever, that actually turned into sales. And I think that's like a good introductory point. And I'd stand by that wholeheartedly. I don't think putting something up on Instagram, as we all know, we're all using the platform right this second, like posting a picture on Instagram and like trying to push sales of your first wallet or whatever, is honestly it's like a scary thing right now. I'm glad I didn't go that route. So I would say try and get it in the hands of people that, again, are probably going to be a little bit nicer to you. Maybe they're not nitpicky. Maybe they don't care about a completely finished edge, or maybe they don't care about like a stitch that's out of place. And you can feel good about packing that up and getting it out to them. But I'd start there.
Yeah, I don't know, Melissa.
Yeah, that sounds.
Any advice?
That is good advice. I was
first couple
I
sales.
was talking to somebody the other day about it, and I started selling on Instagram because of where I live or whatever. I do have a pretty large friend group though, so I am kind of lucky that way. But I was saying that like the first year that I did this like full time or whatever, I think my sales were actually a lot more than when I tried to scale up and balance keeping customs, having stock on a website, trying to do like markets and stuff. It just becomes like, I mean, I joke that I have a noodle brain, but I do. And so, like trying to keep on track and keep things organized is definitely not a strong suit and not like a great idea to be a small business owner. But whatever. You can get through it. But mine, originally I did start on here, and then when it became too much to be answering DMs all day long, that's when I was like, okay, I'll get a website and like a landing page or whatever. But there's still some bugs to work out there, especially my current website host. But
yeah.
I mean, for me, it was my first couple sales came from either, my wife's friends, my friends, that kind of, it's people, that'll be your first couple sales. I mean, that's to the point. It's if you try and jump on Instagram and instantly start to sell stuff, this is a really crowded place. And I would argue even, I think when I was doing jewelry stuff, I just threw crap out on Etsy because I was like, whatever, it's almost zero cost. You pay like 20 cents for a listing. Who cares? Which is still, I would say, if that's potentially a decent way to do it, is just throw up an Etsy shop. But the problem is Etsy is so crowded and it's a race to the bottom on price. So just temper your expectations. If you throw up an Etsy site or whatever else, is that you are probably going to have to price it so low that you will not make a lot of money on it, if anything at all, because there's somebody else on that platform that's using cutting dies and a sewing machine and all these other things to cut the time out of the process, that they can sell, a little card slip at $12 and it would cost you $30 just to do it. So it's a tough spot over there. The reason I sell jewelry on Etsy is because the cost structure is so low that, a brass ring, I've got like $2 of materials in. So they're such a high margin item that I don't worry about Etsy a whole lot. But like for leatherwork, the time that's involved and all that other stuff, it's really tough. Yeah, and Sean brings up a good point. Etsy takes a big chunk of it too. I mean, you lose like 20% selling stuff on Etsy. So it's a tough place to be. So, I would say friends and family, and that's most people, your coworkers at your current job, because, unless you're super talkative or whatever, nobody's really going to know that you're doing this until you share it with them. But once coworkers find out you do it, I've sold stuff to a lot of coworkers. Never solicited on my part, but once they figure out you do it, they go, "Hey, I heard you do blank, blank, and blank.
Yeah.
Can you make me a whatever?" Yeah, sure. So, and that's worked out too. Yeah, Nate's bringing up another good point. I mean, and when you're first starting out, I would guarantee like the first couple things that I sold, I probably lost money on. Because you're not going to be able to, the first thing out of the gate, sell a card holder that you made with beginner levels of skill for $75. It's just not going to happen. So anyway, but yeah, friends and family, I think are your first one. Yeah, Nate's also, I mean, and when you're first doing this, don't anybody think that you can show up on Instagram and pay for a promoted post and think it's going to get you any sales. That's not going to work either.
Man, times have changed. I would definitely fall for that. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, obviously I think the community was probably a little bit smaller. If someone threw like a, hey, promote this, shit, I would have jumped all over that stuff. Wasted money, turned around, probably bought more tools from it, threw most of them out, and then went back to Tandy and grabbed the double shoulder that we talked about, 5-ounce double shoulder. The
manager
started hammering out 3 pocket card holders in 5-ounce leather, which is awesome. I'm gonna bring that back.
Yeah.
The bricks.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, not to get into the next topic, but that's what Shell Cordovan card holders look like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so Sean brought up a good point, as did Devin. I mean, the in-person stuff, if you're willing to, figure 2 or 3 things out. And I've seen some people like May Leather in San Francisco. So she'll set up a table and do like 2 designs and take like 10 of each thing. So if you want to set up in person, also don't think that you have to show up with like 18 different things. Like, to set up at a market or set up at a shop or whatever, it's $20 or something, and you get a table and just make yourself a simple little display. And I'm giving advice like I've ever done it because I never have. But just trying to give encouragement to people that you don't have to show up with this huge display and 11 things to try and sell. Like if you set up a nice little table and you smile and tell people your story when they walk up and talk to you, that stuff will start to happen.
People will buy shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's really, I mean, I guess I kind of go back and, I mean, obviously, getting your stuff in the hands of people who, you care about or are close with is important. I think if you have a personality, and I know how it was for me at the beginning, I like just making a lot of shit, right? None of it was particularly awesome. But it got to a point, after 3 months of doing it, where it was like, I'm making a lot of pieces that, I could sell for $30, $25, $30 and feel comfortable with it. And you have a lot of them. Now all of a sudden you're like, because you know how it is, you get super excited. You make something great. And you're like, oh man, well, I'm going to make something that's just a little bit better than this one. I'm going to make the next one that I'm going to carry myself. I'm going to make the next one. I'm going to give it away. And all of a sudden you're sitting there, I had a bag of 25 wallets. I'm like, I think I still have it somewhere. Like, what am I doing with these things? If you have a little bit of a personality and $50, I guarantee if you show up, not guarantee, take that back. If you showed up somewhere, a coffee shop, tattoo shop, I know a lot of these bigger markets charge $200, $300, which, might be a stretch at the beginning. But a coffee shop, a tattoo shop, a bar, or something like that. I mean, if you sit down and you can have a conversation with someone and you happen to have a bunch of card holders or whatever sitting next to you, people are definitely going to inquire about it. And I think you'd be surprised if you sold, 10, 12 of them, whatever. I mean, that's a couple $100, and
Mhm.
that's selling 10 wallets on Instagram, which I don't think is going to happen.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I mean, that's, we've had a lot of good stuff in the comments. Eric's mentioning, hey, just a folding table with the canvas drop cloth and a couple boxes on it. Nate from B Frank mentioned before. I mean, I'll say Nate's really fucking good at what he does. So Nate can, trot out 20 designs and do it really well and have an awesome display. And if you're at that stage in your craft and that's what works for you, that's awesome. But if you are only making one or two things, don't be scared to go set up a table. I mean, it's no different than doing what we do here. It's just you're physically there and you're going to spend half a Saturday. The tattoo shop, I've sold more stuff in tattoo shops when I'm getting tattooed. If you happen to be someone who have tattoos and you get along with your artist and the shop will tolerate having you around, people that go into tattoo shops are the nicest people you would ever meet, and they will buy your shit because they appreciate handmade stuff, because that's where they're getting tattoos and whatever else. Like, that's a good place to set up if they'll let you. Or if you don't have a tattoo, go get a tattoo and get a relationship with a tattoo artist. Then you can sell shit. Just kidding. Just stay away from the face for your first ones.
Exactly.
So, what does Eric say? You don't want people to notice your display before the product. That's why we do it like that. Yeah, absolutely. That's the other good point that, Redbeard's bringing up is, and while you're sitting there, bring your stitching pony. Do some form, burnish edges. Do something to kind of draw people into to what you're doing. So anyway, now that we have given everybody the keys and the secrets to starting
let
up
us
a
know
lot
how it goes. Royalties.
Yeah.
Royalties.
Right. 0 advisor fees.
We don't know shit.
Right. We don't know shit. We're just 3 randos on the internet. So we touched on it a little bit. Somebody asked favorite leathers that are not shell cordovan.
Who wants to start?
Anybody want to go first? I mean, I'll say that, favorite leathers is kind of subjective. Depends on what you're using it for. So if you're going to make a belt, it's one thing. If you're going to make a card holder, it's another thing. If you're going to make a bag, it's another thing. So I think it's probably related to small goods, since somebody mentioned, shell cordovan. There are lots of leathers that are as good, or, shell cordovan's its own thing, right? So for small goods, I don't particularly like shell cordovan. It's fine. I've worked with it. It's okay. But it's not my favorite to work with. I like Vachetta. I like, I'll mention it, although he doesn't really carry them anymore. Those J&FJ Baker bellies that Ryan had were a nice weight for small goods of the Baker Bridal. Dakota is beautiful stuff, but it's all personal preference and what you want to do, right? I mean, there's loads of great stuff out there that's shell, not shell, whatever. How about you guys?
You can go, Melissa.
For me, a lot of it too was like shell got really overhyped for a bit there. And I personally, I'm one of those people that, like, if somebody talks too much about a movie, I'm not going to watch it until like a year later when that all dies down. But having worked with it a little bit, like, it's nice, sure, it's buttery, it's soft, it's whatever, but it was intended for shoe wear, and it's like, it's just such a special material. It comes from horse, like, I have horses, so like, making something out of the butt of one feels like something that needs to be like really respectful and not just like something goofy so you can put the name on it or whatever. Sean's mentioning Japanese leathers, and I literally have Japanese leathers from Sean right beside me.
Sean's teasing with the good.
Look at this.
So I think the
So there's
Japanese veg pans are just not really picked up on by,
yeah,
US based crafters.
this is
I've never messed with this stuff. I've seen it. I know Melissa, you've spoken really,
yeah.
really highly about it.
And you guys can all ask Corder how much he
Um,
likes his wallet because it was made out of this too.
Little
there you go.
plug.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's lots of premium leathers that are out there. So sorry, Tyler, you go
I mean,
as
I
well.
think it's such a, I mean, like most of these questions, I think they're all pretty wide open. I mean, I'll always have a special spot for Natural Veg Tan. I used to do a lot of stuff, with Wicked and Craig. I've slowly kind of transitioned to using more Italian natural. I love Dakota, like you just mentioned, Chuck. I mean, I think it's super easy to work with. The taros, again, something that I think is always, I always have at least some of it kind of kicking around in some capacity. Again, I think a lot of people on here probably mess around with Pueblo leathers. I mean, that's again something that I always have like usually like they're just kind of some staples that I'll have in like your standard light brown, dark brown, blacks to have on hand. I definitely fell and I don't know when you're alluding to the hype of Shell, Melissa, but I feel like I was probably right in the center of it, like right when it was like, yeah, you have to have this stuff, and I did the whole, kind of like the tools and the stuff that we talked about a while ago, right? Like, you had it. Do you really need the $175 edge beveler, or could you get one that's, $39 that might honestly work better? And that's kind of how I feel about Shell. But I also do respect that there's a lot of people out there that kind of seek it out. It's like anything, right? It's like I used to be a big sneaker collector, and like a lot of the sneakers that I bought, I'll be honest, like I didn't really have any interest in ever wearing. But I knew that if they sat in a box for 6 months, someone would pay 3 times as much as what I paid for them just because I was lucky to have them. So that's kind of how I feel about Horween and Shelf Cordovan. I think it's actually cool that you've started to see like a lot of other Shelf Cordovan kind of pop up, into the marketplace over the course of the last, like, I don't know, four years, I want to say, which I think has maybe made Shell like a little bit more attainable for some people as opposed to this like pie in the sky, oh my gosh, like, a $299 wallet because it's Shell Cordovan and it's crafted, like bloody hell. You don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah, I will say the only piece of Shell finished good that I've ever bought was Quarters, tie-dye shell from recently, from his anniversary. I will say the way that Horween deals with Shell is some bullshit, because you almost have to earn your way into certain colors. You have to buy a certain amount from them to get the privilege of buying, up the chain of colors, which is some horse shit. Like, I don't like it. It's not a club. To the great point is cool. Then I will go to one of the European shell manufacturers and get the same thing without having to deal with bullshit from Horween. And that's, talking with Eric about it when I was in Cape Cod, he's like, yeah, I've witnessed now 2 surges of shell popularity, where it was same thing happened once, died out, then it came back again. I think it's interesting that almost nobody is properly splitting shell down to the right weight that needs to be used for the products that are being made with it. So, I love Stephanie to death. She's awesome. She makes beautiful stuff. But a wallet that's that thick is some bullshit. For me personally, like, I wouldn't carry it. I wouldn't sell it to anybody. Like, that's just not my particular artistic vision of what something needs to look like, is 8 layers of 5-ounce leather glued together. A really fantastic feat that she did in making that piece as beautiful as she did, but a giant thick piece of, it's just not my thing. Like, but that's what makes the world go round. Somebody loved it. She loved making it. It all works out great. I don't think I would ever suggest anybody doesn't work with it. Like, everybody's got to find out. I mean, we've all got to find our own way to the top of the mountain or whatever, right? So at some point you have to learn the lesson of, this is a really expensive ass piece of leather that I bought, and whatever. So everybody's got to figure it out. For me, I figured out, I have some shell back there that I just don't, unless somebody requests it, it's not the first thing I want to go for. Like we said, I mean, but there's also no such thing as a marbled purple, Dakota either. So, it's all got its pluses and minuses, but it's just not my particular vision of the things I want to make. It really doesn't include shell or anything that's that thick.
Well, I mean,
Just is what it is.
if you're not exclusively working with it too, like having to buy, like I've had customers contact me and be like, oh, I want like such and such color of shell. And I'm like, okay, but then I'm going to have to buy a $300 piece of leather for your one card holder and hope that I sell another one. And, and like I said, I would work in it under special request, or if I had some on hand kind of thing. But yeah, it's not really something that I don't have that kind of money to let it sit on my shelves and wait for the right project or whatever. So
or the demand. I mean, that's, somebody recently came to me and like, hey, I want XYZ out of ultraviolet shell. I'm like, cool, I don't have it. I don't know anybody that has it, and I'm not going to spend a ton of energy trying to go find it. I do think one of the European suppliers at one point was selling shell panels. Which, again, that's a great solution, but nobody really sells shell panels. You have to buy a whole shell. So somebody wants a card holder, and then it's cool. So it's going to be $300 in leather plus my labor to make it, and I will send you the card holder and the rolled up remaining piece of shell.
It's a $500 wallet.
I don't have a lot of use for it. Yeah, it's a $500 card holder if you want me to make it out of purple shell. It just is what it is. And there are some people that wouldn't even blink and go, yeah, cool. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, I guess that's what we're working with. But to the point, I mean, I think a lot of consumers won't sit there and think about, I just asked, I don't regularly stock shell. It's not something I do. If you look at my feed, there's nothing in it that says like I'm a person that works with shell on a regular basis. So when somebody's like, oh, cool, I want a wallet out of the shell, like, great, then it's $500 because I don't want to sit around with that much. From a business perspective, I don't want to put $300 in my inventory that I'm going to get, a certain amount out of and then just have to sit on. There you go. And Eric's saying ultraviolet ages to brown in 4 months anyway. So yeah, I mean, that's the business side of this, that as a crafter, you're like, oh, and honestly, it's a certain amount of the collector mindset too. It's not incredibly different than the shoe conversation. It's great. I look at this glorious piece of really hard to get ultraviolet shell that I got. Isn't it badass? Like, and it's cool. And you look at it, and then you look at your business, and you're like, wow. So now I have a solid $250 of leather inventory that's sitting there that I had no plan to sell. That's a bad business decision.
Yeah, because then either you end up reselling. Oh no, sorry, I was just saying, because then you're stuck either. What do? You resell the material, or you spend the time to make up a different project just as an excuse to use that material. Either way, you're sitting at a loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are plenty of people that I think have made a niche market out of that particular material and have done really well with it. But not for me. God, what was the other one? Any other specific leathers that we want to mention while we're on it? I mean, so it's a fair question. If Sean's still on, I wouldn't even know where to try and get Japanese veg tan leather from a supplier. I'm sure there's suppliers in Japan you can get it from. I just don't know. So if anybody knows where you can source that stuff from, other than just give Sean a ring.
I know Rocky Mountain carries just the unglazed natural Tochigi.
Okay.
I can send you a little piece of what I got. It's a little friendship gift, so you can try it out. Enough for a pocket. But yeah, no, as far as I know, that's it, unless Sean's got somewhere else.
It looks like Ryan mentioned. Okay, so
Right.
quarter mentioned Rocky Mountain's a North American supplier. So I'm sure if there's a specific color or whatever else, you just kind of work with them to get it on their next order or whatever. If that's
Yeah.
possible, I don't know. It would be cool to work with at some point. I mean, anybody that does this for longer than a little bit, just having that kind of new and unique material is always super fun. It's a cool thing. I mean, that's when I go over to DLS and walk through, his warehouse. I'm like, oh, what about that? Ooh, what about that? Ooh, what about that? It's just, it's somebody mentioned Pueblo earlier, and I at one point I think I made a card holder with some of the leather that you sent me, Melissa, out of Pueblo on the outside and your marble panel on the inside. Because I had never worked with Pueblo, and everybody was all Pueblo this, Pueblo that. I mean, it hit a big surge where it was like everything you saw was made out of Pueblo. Yeah, and then I carried it for a couple of weeks, and I'm like, God damn it, this just looks like smooth Minerva now, because all the buffing on it goes away in a week or two, which is still beautiful stuff. It's just not.
Yeah, it's kind of good to hear it like ages down, because I really like the colors it comes in, but I can't stand the buffing lines on Pueblo, and it's because I spent so long as a metal worker buffing sheets like sheet metal. We'd use a random orbital, and it left the same stuff. So I look at it, and I'm just like, no thanks.
Swirl pattern.
not for me.
Yeah, nightmares.
I hate it.
It's
airtight. Yeah, it's that stuff that looks like an orbital sander hit it.
My chat.
Eric just said that.
Let's see if I've got.
I don't know, like the colors, because like OA Leather Supply just started carrying it, and like the colors they're uploading are gorgeous, but I can't handle that. It's just, I don't know, I don't like it.
Brings back bad memories. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, I don't mind working with it. Like I said, I mean, I think the reason why I've enjoyed it is because once it does wear out and once it does patina and whatnot, like it does turn into like also like a pretty beautiful looking leather as well. Which to me is pretty cool. And they do offer like funky colors, right? You can get, weird yellows and shit.
Yeah. I don't think I would. All right. Yeah. If I have some, I couldn't find it. I did, however, find this irreplaceable leather.
I got some more.
That was.
You're just getting cat called in the comment section.
Yeah. Talking
there you go.
Talking only legs now.
Yeah.
That's right. Right. We got only hands. We got only cheeks.
Oh, Sean, I got the same one. It was a piece of shit.
Yeah, and Eric, I can't remember who produces Pueblo, but it's basically just like a sanded, surface sanded.
I think it's Baldassi Carlo or something like that.
Yep, it is.
Okay.
Puppy. Trying to get dog.
But I mean that's kind of the fun thing. I mean, it's like you can get panels of stuff like Delaro and whatever else that's all right. Now Sean's wanting the feet pictures.
Feet, bud.
That's where we draw the line on this chat.
Yeah.
No, that just,
that's people. It's a closely guarded secret that I actually have cloven hoofs for feet. So
that's also the Saturday night. That's the Saturday
if
night
I
chat.
actually,
that's behind a paywall.
Yeah, exactly.
Multiple paywalls.
There'll be people outside with pitchforks and torches if all of a sudden it's discovered that I'm goat from the waist down.
Just Donald Duck in it.
Yes, exactly. I'm Winnie the Pooh up in here.
Oh God.
Now that we have covered all that, so we covered the goat thing. I think we had a question about our take on crafters who have designed a business around selling to other crafters. which to me, that's a pretty quick one. Of if that's who your market is and that's what your business model is, cool, go for it. Unless, like we've been talking about before, unless it's a shitty predatory business where you're trying to sell bullshit things to people that don't know any better, and that's a problem.
Like glow for
but if it's a simple thing, right? Exactly. Like bug
$200
jigs and other shit like that. Right. $200 rulers that are made out of shatterable glass or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, so it's when you think about like Make Supply, I probably wouldn't be doing this had I not been able to buy a couple of patterns from Make Supply.
That's where I started.
Because it's, yeah, I mean, that's another topic for like, hey, how do I get my first sale? Don't spend a lot of time on patterns or designing stuff. Yeah, get yourself a template from somebody who doesn't care if you commercialize it is the big asterisk. So if you buy a pattern from somebody and he has clear instructions that this is not to be used for commercial use, don't do that shit. Like, it's not cool. There are plenty of pattern makers out there, some that are in the chat, that sell wonderful patterns with great instructions, that don't care if you make those things and turn around and sell them. And honestly, they want to see you do that. So that's a good thing too. Like, when you're first starting out, don't spend time and energy on things where you don't need to.
Sure.
Unless you really enjoy it. But,
Yeah. I don't know. I always thought of it too, like when I started watching quarter videos, like if I learned something from the episode that I watched, I have a stack of patterns that I bought that I've never even tried yet, but it was like I watched the video, I learned a thing, I was like, oh, this pattern's like $3. It's like giving somebody a tip at a bar. You know what I mean? Like it's a way to show respect, and then it gives you something like I kind of call it like my rainy day folder. So like on a Sunday afternoon when I don't know what to do, I'm like, oh, I'll just give this little wallet a shot, like it's nice to have those.
100%. I mean, there's one, it's Kalina's AirTag holder is right here on my bench, because that was one of those where, we talk about, the struggle with sometimes it's rough to get in a shop or find something you really want to make or whatever. It's awesome to just be able to pull up something, watch a video and go, yep, I'm going to get that pattern and just go work on that. You can kind of check out on the design part. I'm just going to cut it and stitch it and go with that. And that's, for me, that's one of those things I can tap into if I'm not really into it, or I kind of don't want to be in the shop or whatever else. You can go, cool, I'll just go do a pattern for fun.
Maybe I should try that. I've never done that.
That's a great way.
Outside of the first original paper template I think I got of Make Supply's like taco card holder, single shot card holder, which I mean I still have the photos that I stitched with a fork. I don't think I've done like someone else's design. I mean, I've done like a couple collaborative things that have involved different aspects of sharing designs and whatnot, but like maybe that's like kind of kicking the ass I need. So thanks, guys.
100%. I mean, so
there's I just put up a free little zippy pouch one.
Oh, I've never messed with a zipper, so I'm into that.
There you go.
I'm into that.
I'll send you a link after this.
Thank you, Turbo. I would love that.
Yeah, but I mean, I've got the same thing. I mean, I've got an accordion file back there with patterns in it. Some of them I've never even cut off the paper. But that's for me, that's a great way to kind of kickstart if I'm not really into it, or even to the point, like if my wife or kids or whatever, I'm like, hey, I want to make something, but I'm kind of floating around. Go poke around this site, and if you see anything that you like, let me know. I mean, and that's, Tyler, you mentioned, your friends and family or whatever, like your day ones, your people that are close to you. Ping them. They're great too. To help you. I mean, if it's a little bit more guided than like, hey, tell me to make something, or the unsolicited, hey, you know what you should make? You should make like that's a 100% recipe for me to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm never fucking making that.
I went the opposite
Um,
direction. That's like how a lot of my like shit started. Like that was like that's how my first backpack started. That's how my first tote bag started. That's how my like first attempt at a briefcase started. Like I went the complete opposite direction. And like I'd have idiots, buddies and what that'd be like, oh yeah, like I really would want like a nice high end, leather bag for work. And like, I'd be like, oh yeah, don't even worry about it. Like let me see if I can make it first or whatever. And then like make it for them, give them the first one and then never make one ever again. And it's like, well, at least I know that I can make that
Right.
duffel bag or that fucking briefcase.
Totally.
okay, so wow, this is cool. So we can actually take questions
Really?
as we're here. Dark Heart Leather Co. just asked, what's your dream leathercraft project?
As in, like, what each of us really wants to make, if time and money were no object.
I think if it right, I mean, call it. You don't have to pay for them. So say there's some magical benefactor that's going to pay you whatever you need for labor, however long it takes, whatever it takes in material, whatever it is.
Are we keeping it, or is it
What would
for
that
someone
be?
else?
Ooh, good question.
Is it for us? Like someone
Um,
just gave us all this material and said, "Hey, you guys have the ability to do this." I know we're getting sidetracked here, but like, hey, this is for us, or like the dream project for someone else.
I think it's either way.
I'm selfish.
I mean, obviously. Well, I mean, I think we all are, and it's part where when you're doing this stuff, and you get to a certain activity level,
Yeah.
you don't make shit for yourself anymore. You just don't. I mean, you get so tied up in making stuff for other people that I think that's another way that I've been able to kind of reinvigorate myself is like, cool, I'm going to make something for me. And I'm going to order materials that I want to work with
Yeah.
shit that I want to do. So let's take it as that. Like, if you want to make it and keep it, cool. We're going to make it and keep it.
I'll go. I can't go first. I need more time.
You need more time.
Yeah, so Eric is saying that shell Porsche interior
Yeah.
is a good one. I honestly
Oh
think
no, I said yeah.
Go ahead.
It's incredible.
that was beautiful.
Yeah.
I think so. After I worked on that Cadavalos chair recently, it was such a beautiful piece. I think I would probably, again, time, money, all that stuff is no concern. I would make something like a Cadavalos chair that's like a mid-century modern, clean, leather sling chair sort of thing, just straight, pure engineered to be this, beautiful, clean piece of modern furniture that featured like a 12-ounce leather sling back in some, beautiful natural harness or something like that.
Brian.
Baker's chair.
Yeah, exactly. At a baker's calf. Russian hat seating.
Yeah, padded pillow top. Yeah, you name it.
Yeah.
I'll go because
That's right.
mine is not as complicated. I think that for me, I've always, probably since starting this, wanted to make like a nice oversized duffel bag, kind of similar to what you did in your last biggest project, Chuck. Similar oversized duffel bag that has a high end feel to it, but is made out of materials that are very rugged and are just going to wear with time, like a bag that I could have for 15, 20 years. I've not done it, but I probably very easily could have done it simply because I haven't really messed around with zippers a ton. And I want it to be a zipper bag, and I don't want it to be, some sort of, I don't know, strap buckle closure kind of thing. So that's like my one hurdle. Yeah, I mean, it's not a crazy thing. It's a pretty simple project. I think that I'd feel comfortable probably starting tomorrow as far as making the body of the bag. The zipper is what I would stare at for hours on end and figure out how I was going to do it. But yeah, that's mine.
That's sweet.
So I will tell you, one of the biggest secrets to zippers is one of these guys. It's just a zipper alignment tool. So you buy it for the size zipper, and it's got, you know, basically the spacing between the zipper and the edge, and it's a set, or this was a set. So there's 5, 6, and 7 millimeters, and you lay that on top of your zipper, and then you just butt your leather up against the side, and it sets your gap all the way. It's like the best $10 that you can spend on how to do zippers. Super easy.
Yeah, quarter saying so
like
much
zippers.
easier than, no, I was saying quarter
What's
saying
that?
so much easier than people think. I mean, I think I've gotten to the point where I've heard that line mentioned by enough people where like it's really just convinced me to be like, just figure it out and just do it. But for whatever reason, I don't know what it is. It's one of those things where like I stare at them and I'm like, I don't even know where to begin with this, or how did that person make that look like that?
Yeah.
Or why does it like how does the zip that it turns into like the zipper on my like winter jacket? I'm like, oh my gosh, the winter on my zipper jacket's so nice. Like, how do I do this? So I think it's more of just like a fear, not a phobia yet. Working like kind of getting close to a phobia, almost like zipper phobia. But it's creeping there. It's
No,
creeping.
I had that with rivets. Like before I ever dealt with rivets, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to deal with rivets. Like rivets are so awful, and you know, you're going to fuck it up and everything else. But like, yeah, I mean, there you go. So Eric's got it. Like, so if you buy a yard of zipper tape with your next leather order from whoever you order stuff from, it's truly, and just 2 pieces of scrap leather on either side. It's super easy. Or to the point, just use Melissa's pattern and, you know, just put a zipper in.
I do. I have a whole video.
It's not
I have a
hard.
whole video.
Now you guys know
it's so
each other
easy.
and-
You'll see it.
All right. Now I'm forced into doing this.
It's truly,
It's like, I think it's only like 20 minutes long. It's not
Yeah.
that. You can probably fast forward through it. I tend to ramble, but
Sounds unlike you.
I know, right? And I never talk.
Been talking for an hour.
what's another one? No restrictions, materials covered, labor paid. You keep it or it's commission either way. All right. That was just a follow up to the last one. But yeah, zippers are super easy. I think the first zipper project I did might have been, oh, that's what it was. So Make Supply sold a little zippered pouch kit that came with, you know, the template, and, you know, he sent like 2 zippers, and I think they were prefab zipper lengths or whatever. So, you know, after I did that, you figure out that like the big length of zipper tape is much easier than dealing with trying to go, oh, I need a 6-inch finished zipper for this project or whatever, and trying to order that and waiting for it to show up and all that other crap. Like, you just get a yard or 2 of, you know, number 5, the most common zipper, and you just cut it to length. And if you got a pair of nippers to take the teeth out that you don't need, super easy. And then you just stitch it in like you're stitching 2 pieces of leather.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Super easy.
Never got to Melissa. Melissa's dream project.
Oh,
So
my
we
dream
got-
project? Well, Chuck kind of made me change mine.
Yeah.
I did always want to do furniture because I used to build a lot of metal furniture. So it was always kind of my dream to like, this is well before I even thought I would ever be a leather worker. And so I always kind of like wanted to team up with one. So I would do like a steel base and then they would do a little sling. But now I think it'd be sick to do my own, or boots. One of the 2.
Boots.
And
Boots
I'm
would be a
very
cool one.
privileged that I have like a very close friend who's a boot maker. So it's like
Or
just a
saw
matter
that.
of me getting to go
Super
up there for
super
a long.
talented. Super
Oh
Yeah.
my God. He's amazing. Amazing.
That was the
Yeah, they're raw.
ghost leather boots,
They're
right?
great. So they were just made for an art project. And so he actually had to like soak them, put them on, and then re-soak them to take them off because they just get like hard as they wear. Yeah, they're wild. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Eric's got a very valuable tip on zippers. Is the assembly tape is super key for doing zippers. Using glue and you can get it all jacked up, but tape is the
Nice.
super easy way to do zippers. Yeah, boots are interesting. I think I would probably go a little bit different direction where I would love to go to like central Mexico and learn like the legit cowboy boot scenario. There used to be, I grew up in Houston, there was a flea market in Sharpstown that had a legit, Mexican cobbler in there, and they would go and like measure your foot and build you like a full-on
Sweet.
custom pair of boots.
There's a one.
That I don't know if they're still there or not anymore, but I was always really kind of enamored by, you just walk into that place and it smells like leather or whatever, like a custom pair of, or like go work in the Lucchese factory and freaking, the whole like how, if you could do it all over, whatever, like cool. I'm going to go work at the Lucchese factory and learn how to make custom boots, or, go work in the Hermes factory or whatever. I don't know.
That would be
That would be
sweet.
super cool.
Yeah, there's a woman who
Yeah.
we were just up in Steamboat Springs a couple of weeks ago, like 3 hours north of Denver, and it's like kind of like for those who don't know, it's like kind of a cowboy / like Aspen high end ski town vibe. And there happens to be this woman who owns, I forget the name of it. I'm gonna have to look it up. It's gonna bother me, but she has like a boot making studio inside of this also retail store. So you walk in and like the first, like, I don't know, let's call it 25 yards by, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 yards deep, which is just like stacked with leather and all of her machines and whatnot inside of this retail store where she's selling like all sorts of wild stuff. Like I picked up some crocodile from like it was wild. They had a bar in the back. And it's like, she's selling like $1,400 custom, ostrich boots. And,
That's so cool.
like I think it would be really cool. Like wild stuff, like, teal ostrich, like, stuff that again might not be my flavor,
Yeah.
but, I mean, super cool stuff that, people are, interested in, which I thought was amazing.
That's good.
Yeah. No, that's my dad, when I was a kid, bought a pair of lizard boots. And unfortunately, my feet are bigger than his are, so I will never inherit them. But, we were in Santa Fe probably 6-7 years ago or whatever, and there's a Lucchese shop in the Santa Fe Square. And, like, I took about 3 steps in that joint, and I was like, I need to leave. Like, if I stay here, I'm going to make a really bad financial decision.
Yeah.
Because it's true, like freaking full on gator boots that are, $12,000 boots or whatever. I'm like, I wouldn't do something that dumb, but I would do something as dumb as like, I spent $2,000 on a pair of calfskin Lucchese hand built.
That's a pretty
all
wild.
leather boots.
We went there back in September, Chuck. It's a pretty wild. That whole area is wild in Santa Fe. Like you want to talk about just plenty of things that you could spend money on. You want to talk about like all the jewelry. You want to talk about, oh my gosh, like it was like, luckily we had drove there. Drove there from Denver.
Yeah.
And we were there we did a day in Santa Fe. We did 4 days in Taos. And, like luckily we were just in Santa Fe for the day with the car, and we had the dog with us. But I was like walking around. I was about to buy carpets. I had the whole thing. Like it was about to be like I was doing carpets. We had throw pillow. We had everything. Like we were boots, like jewelry. It was gonna be like a ridiculous like $3,000-$4,000 day. It was a $4,000.
It was gonna look like Dumb and Dumber walking out of there. Yeah, no, that was last time when we were there. It was, you're walking by just on the sidewalk, and there's some, silver artisan that's made these, freaking 4-gauge, gigantic, heavy, silver cuffs that were just gorgeous. And it's just like some dude sitting on a sidewalk. Yeah. I'm like, you trip over art.
No, it's a place awesome. Where, I mean, it's not like, you only need like really a day or two to like kind of kick around the whole place, I think. Like it's pretty manageable and super walkable. But the art there, like once you get to whatever that part of like kind of, it's like there's like that one touristy street and you kind of get to the market. Once you get up there, like it just is, it's wild. Like I was like blown away. I mean, we had heard about it, but I was like, there's no way there can be this much art. And they were just like you were stumbling all over yourself. Like it was like, we got to get out of here. I don't know how much money I'm going to spend.
Yeah, exactly. Did you go to the Georgia O'Keeffe
We
Museum
did not, but I heard it's
when you were
awesome. And then they also have what, like the Meow Wolf. Meow Wolf's like, I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's like kind of like super weird, like trippy museum that there's the experience. There's one in Denver. The original is in Santa Fe, and it's supposed to be awesome. We haven't gone to either of them, but we're definitely. I mean, it's like a 3.5-4 hour drive for us. And it's I mean, it's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like New Mexico in itself. If you guys have never been there, well, Chuck, you obviously have. Melissa, I don't know if you have. Is it's wild. Like it's a wild place. And then the fact that there's like a massive ski mountain or ski resort there that like gets like some of the most snow in the country, but like there's no tree. It's so weird. Like it honestly feels like you're on Mars. And the people there are so artsy. I talked to a couple. I don't know if I ran into any people who were like actually leather makers, but I walked into plenty of stores that had leather goods inside of them, right? That like, I always try and ask like, hey, is this, someone local, or is this Tanner Goods or, something like that, that you guys bring in to start the conversation. And seemed like a lot of it was local. There's a lot of just creative people down in that state is what I came away with.
Cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Georgia O'Keeffe thing was really awesome. Coming on the back of International Women's Day yesterday, that lady was just incredible. She was just gives no fucks, moved out in the middle of, New Mexico, gave everybody the finger and just sat around and made art all day. It's awesome.
It's wild.
I aspire to be her one day.
You got time. You got time.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, super, super cool stuff there. All kinds of good stuff. But yeah, you could always just be a total piece of shit leathercraft influencer and rent a studio in Santa Fe for like 3 days and take 3 years worth of video and pictures and shit and make it look like you're some super successful artist in Santa Fe and start selling hokey shit to newcomers. Here's our bump jays made out of pinyon cactus, and they're better than any others because they're handmade right here in Santa Fe.
Oh, dude.
Told you we were gonna start this shit tonight. It's a great town. Lots of good stuff there. I think that covers kind of all the questions we had. Just read off my business plan. Like, dude, if that's a business
Figure
plan,
Figure it out.
we need to talk. Right. Now I could see us pulling together money and building a tiny artist cooperative there and living in our own little tiny houses and collaborating on whatnot. That's if Eric doesn't let us pull a trailer outside his house in the summer.
I'm just going to get down there and never leave. That's all. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, probably be all right. Cape Cod's awesome too. It might suck in the winter, but it certainly is lovely when it's warm out.
Sweet.
So I think, that's all the questions that we got. I don't know if there's anything else we were particularly looking to get into tonight. There it is,
Perfect.
Eric. He's got room. I'm down. I'll come stay for a couple weeks. That's what we need to do is ordering a bunch of Japanese veg tan to Eric's house and go
There you go.
work for a couple weeks. Do a limited Japanese veg tan drop. There you go, 50 and sunny day. That's still a little. 50's still a little chilly
Denver
for
65
for.
today.
Yeah,
20 tomorrow.
exactly. Well, it's still. I'm assuming it's still cold up in the
Actually, right here,
hinterlands.
it's not bad. Like the last couple days have been super sunny, pretty windy, but snow's over. It's like I live in a rainforest though, so the West Coast is commonly called the wet coast because it like rains more than anything here. But yeah, I think we're almost at t-shirt weather.
Wow.
50s is short weather. So that's being in Texas, like going to spring break at Padre Island. You always knew the kids from up north because they were the ones that were like pink as of day 2 of their trip, because they had been in. They were Massachusetts kids that only got sun for like 2 hours a day, and then they come to South Texas, and then all of a sudden they're like dying of sunstroke after 2 days. But in the comments section, it looks like there may be a viable festival in Cape Cod scenario. The 3-day camp in at Eric's farm. Any talk amongst you vets about regionalized maker meetups? I know for a fact DLS in Atlanta is talking about doing another meetup. But in terms of like other cities, I don't know of much. You know, I'm sure the bigger cities can probably work something out. But I don't know that there's anybody that's, you know, kind of doing it consistently or through any kind of centralized anything other than that. Like I said, here in Atlanta, we've got the advantage of Bill being here, and I know he's going to start his meetups again soon. So that'll be cool. But in terms of like other people meeting up other places, I don't know. It's always a good idea. So if you can hook up with folks that are local to you,
yeah,
that's awesome.
I've never really heard of any in Canada. Like I'm part of, there's like a Canadian Leather Crafters page on Facebook, and I know there's been like talks of it, but I don't think anybody's ever really pulled the pin and done it.
There's that one guy Matt, right? Like he's Canadian.
Yeah, East Coast.
Right.
Yeah.
Right on. Nice. I've lucked out. I'm not gonna stir it. I've lucked out. I mean, I've met, like I said earlier, I've met at least 3 or 4 in Denver, and it's cool. I mean, like I've actually become really good friends with Adam, who I don't know if you guys. He's Proper Penguin Goods. He's great. He's like become like a really good friend of mine actually, which is like we hang out, go skiing, drink beers, and like is a good buddy. So like it's actually kind of funny if you ask me, you know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, this little small Instagram world that you live in, like would it ever lead to anything, right? Like let alone meeting someone who like actually like moves and breathes and talks and so on and so forth. I would say absolutely not. And it has. So yeah, I'm pretty lucky when it comes to that. But Melissa, I feel you. You're kind of in like a.
I'm a little isolated, but I do have like, I personally have like a few close-ish by leatherworking friends. Like my friend Olivia lives in Nanaimo, which is where I can go get Herman Oak from. So it's like on the Big Island, we call it, on Vancouver Island. And then of course I've got Ken, who's my bootmaker friend, and I'll go stay. He's just up on the Sunshine Coast. It's not like a super far trek, so I'm lucky and I'll go stay with him and his wife for a few days or whatever, and then loop back through. And my friend Randy, she does motorcycle seats and bags, or leather goods. She's been doing it a long time too, and so I'll just pop in. I get to do the nice little circuit. Yeah,
that's awesome. Looks like Dark Heart Leather Co. is saying Canadian Society of Leather Crafters does some small meets here and there. Maybe the Canuck can set something up. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple people from around the Toronto area that I know of. You know, again, in bigger cities, it's probably a bit easier. but I would say you've got to kind of seek out those people that are close to you and find that connection with them. There's a couple people around Atlanta that I'll get together with occasionally, just outside of a meetup or whatever, and it's always good. Doing this kind of stuff. I'll call it your normie friends or whatever that don't have a side hustle making stuff or whatever else. Like, it's not that they can't totally relate to you, but it's getting together like this and talking with people that kind of do the same thing and they get it. There's so much common ground that you don't have to cover to get to that common denominator of being able to have a conversation about stuff. It's nice to have folks that kind of do it at any level of skill, from beginner all the way up to, people who have been doing this a whole lot longer than I have. It's awesome to have that, and especially folks that are local that you can hook up with. Even if it's just social, even if it's like, hey, every once a quarter, we're going to get together at XYZ place and go, have a meal or just chit chat about stuff.
Oh, totally.
That's awesome too. But you got to kind of find your crowd and kind of make it happen. Because I don't know that there's too much else that's gonna do it for you.
Absolutely.
Cool. I don't know that I've got too much else to get into tonight, unless we start to get into politics or religion, and then shit could really go off.
Speaking of politics and religion, didn't somebody ask about community over competition?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm giving this 8 minutes. I'm giving this 8 minutes and popping off. Just saying it right now. I'm giving it 8 minutes. It's 8:30 my time. After that, I'm done, because this could go. This could, like, me and Chuck did a 2-hour one a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, the whole community over competition. It's a nice saying, as long as people actually believe that. And I don't know if Ryan is still here or not, but I think of all the people I have exposure to on Instagram and whatever else, like, Ryan's done a pretty good job in the past, recently, not saying that he didn't before that, but when he took time out to show people, hey, here's how I actually burnish my belts, and I'm going to do a live and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I do it. It's a recipe, right? You can find a recipe in any magazine. 2 different people take that recipe. One person is going to make an apple pie that's the best thing you've ever had. One person's going to make an apple pie that you wouldn't feed to your dog, and they're working off the same recipe. So when it's community over competition, the simple fact of, like, cool, I'm going to share with you exactly how I do what I do, doesn't mean you can replicate it, but it doesn't mean I shouldn't show you how. And if you figure out a way to do it better than I do, great, show me back. That's what community's about. But when you're holding back steps, or not doing this or not doing that, or keeping information back that would otherwise help someone be successful, that's not community. That's competition.
Well, and then at what point is it like,
for me,
it's just a t-shirt too, right? Like, that motto became popular because it was put on hats and t-shirts as like a whole thing, and then everybody started using a hashtag, and here we are.
I think the big thing that ruffles my feathers with this, and again, I'm going to keep it brief, is that I think everyone loves being able to say that saying. And again, I mean, you have the right to do so. What I've noticed, being pretty, I think one of the more active people when it comes to actually trying to support that notion. I know, Turbo, you're in the same boat. Chuck, you're in the same boat. I think we're 3 like-minded individuals here. I think we're, if someone says, hey, we're going to do this, that, or the other thing, we're going to say, okay, how can we help out? Or how can I donate? Or how can I do this? Or how can I do that? My issue is, you have a lot of people who live in this fake Instagram world that want to say that, and they want to be like, oh, I'm a part of this and I support this. And then at the same time, turn around and push their own agenda. And whenever you need something or whenever you want to do something, they're never going to be there to, give that same sort of, I don't know, that same sort of push or that same sort of motivation, I guess. So that's where my like inherent problem lies. I just can't get behind that. Like if I'm going to support someone, I'm going to support everyone, as many people as possible. I'm not going to pick and choose my battles and not support someone or inherently try and discourage people from helping out someone else, I guess. And then on the back end, like wonder why people aren't supporting me when I have not helped anyone out. And then I'm going to like push my own agenda and push discounts and sales and so on and so forth. And then complain about, how I haven't sold anything. And it's like, well, the writing's on the wall, but that's my just real quick tidbit there.
Yeah, I mean, and Eric's bringing up a good point. The two don't necessarily have to be coupled together. So you can still be part of a community and still compete in an ethical and fair way. They can exist in the same space. And again, it's when you see people that are showing you how to do X, Y, and Z. I mean, mirror edges are a good example, right? So I mean, that was a closely guarded secret by a couple people that could do it. But then all of a sudden everybody can do it now. And it doesn't devalue somebody else's work because, cool, you hid that methodology for however long, right? It's, if everybody knows how to do it, cool, we can all move on to the next thing.
Well, we also
live
in an age too where like it's all going to end up out in the open anyways. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think there's any harm. Like you said, like mirrored edges were guarded for so long. What's the point in keeping that a secret? Like it's going to eventually get out. Like you said, if you can help somebody along the way, get a little bit of a leg up, why not?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's even to the point where, when you think about really advanced, like fine leather, European style leatherworking techniques that were held for so long inside of the houses that were doing that stuff on purpose. But now you can almost in a home shop have everything that those places do. And you can make stuff that's just as good as long as you're willing to put the time in. I was born in Queens, everything competition. Yeah, that takes me back to living in Washington D.C., where it's like you would get in competition over the dumbest shit just because there's so many people in one spot. You're looking to throw down over the last loaf of bread in the bodega just because that's what
you had to live for.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's one loaf of bread and it's me or you, so we're gonna get down for this loaf of bread. But yeah, I mean, I've never personally felt threatened by sharing my knowledge about anything that I do. I mean, because again, it's knowledge versus application is a different thing. I can know how to do something. I can tell you how to do something. It doesn't mean you're going to be as successful at it as I am. But with the amount of time and practice, and if you watch me do it enough, you will be. And I'm still not threatened by that. Like, who cares?
I think you're definitely right. I don't think it's a threatening thing. I think for me, there's like this idea that when and again, maybe I'm just thinking back and being nostalgic, but like 5-6 years ago, it seemed like everyone was maybe in it for the right reason. And I look back and I'm like, wow, that was awesome. What a great time to, get involved with this thing and like really start kind of messing around in this community. And then heard the saying or the hashtag, 3 or 4 years ago. And I just feel like it's a cool little thing to like put out there. but like, as we all know, like, I mean, for me, it's not like a threatening thing. For me, it's like there's a lot of initiatives that are pushed in this community that are awesome, that are doing a lot of great things, you know, raising money, supporting people, collaborating with people, making donations, so on and so forth, you know, doing all sorts of ugly wall part, all that kind of stuff, you know, that I know we've been a part of and, you know, we've supported for years. And, you know, people will sit here and say, I'm all about this community or whatever, and not jump in on that, or I'm all about this community or whatever, but I'm going to go push my own wallet and not support X, Y, and Z. And that's like, for me, I just don't get behind that stance. And I see it as like very two-faced. So again, like, that's just me rambling, but like, I try and spread the love. Like, I don't have the means to support every single initiative out there, but I'm going to try my damnedest. You know, where I think like a lot of other people are like, oh yeah, I'm all about this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, but I'm not going to take part in this. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go, push my full price $275 shell wallet, whatever it is.
Sean, I'm in. We don't even have to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, I'm in too. I think Tyler's probably in as well. Yeah. I mean, that's something we can all support. So if we want to all gang up and do a big push for Pride Month, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm always game. Like, whenever I have actually a lot of friends in like different industries and whatnot too, and they'll come to me all the time and be like, hey, do you have something you can donate and whatever? And like, sure. 9 times out of 10, I don't have money, but I can make shit. So I'll give, right, a gift card or wallet or whatever. I'm like, sorry, I don't.
Yeah. I'm not going to give you $100. I'm not going to give you $100, but
yeah. But I'll give you $100 to my website. And then generally, like, whoever wins will end up spending a little bit theoretically or whatever. But anyways, yeah.
Oh yeah. Smart. I'm always down for stuff like that to contribute product for sure. It's because I consistently devalue my own labor. There's that, but
I think that's all of us.
For materials cost for something I personally believe in, I am all about doing make something and contribute it to an effort that I want to support. So Eric says, I'm down if it's cool, it's not rainbow. Yeah, I mean, we can definitely figure out a way to do, a pride thing. Sean, we'll follow you lead, or if we want to start up a group chat about it and figure out how we can get that kicked up and get folks in and get ready. Then, because we got a little bit of time, but we probably ought to start getting a little bit of a hustle on about it. So at least you can do the whole, like, I made a thing instead of, oh yeah, I am down to make something, but it's going to be another couple weeks. Like, always better if you have the thing that you want to offer up.
It helps.
There we go. We could do some custom rainbow
That's
marble
what
stuff
me and
too.
Sean did last year. That's how I got the Japanese leather. Was Sean did a beautiful rendition with some of my panels to raise money for Pride in Singapore. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let's do it here this year and get 15 or 20 of us to do it.
Sure.
And Singapore.
Singapore too. I mean, I'll donate something to Singapore as well. Right. Anybody worldwide that's interested in supporting Pride for that month, like whatever market you happen to be in, I'm down for contributing something that will help out.
Cool. Well.
Cool. And with that, I think we're a couple minutes past Tyler's like.
It's not so much a curfew as first of all, let me show you guys the beer that I've been drinking tonight. Chuck, you'll get a kick out of this. Check this out. I don't know if you can see that. You got Lil Jon, Lil Wayne, Lil Jon Wayne.
Nice.
So anyways, my thing was like, I think it's just it's one of those things that's kind of like a touch point, right? So I'd rather. I mean, I think everyone here probably understands and gets it, or whatever. But I don't need a person who goes completely off the rocker. So I'm going to count myself.
There are actually a couple folks in Tennessee. There you go. So Eric, that's a great idea. So we can collab with you on a pattern, and then have every maker kind of do their take on the pattern.
Yeah,
that would be dope.
Do whatever leather and whatever you want to use on it. Maybe your own spin on it.
Yeah. Yeah, all the makers get like advanced access to the pattern, so you can make one for a raffle or whatever else.
Yeah,
and sell the pattern as
Trevor
well.
Project, which I keep seeing pop up here in the chat. Something I've donated to in years past. I mean, I know is pretty reputable, and I think something maybe we start there, or maybe if anyone has any other foundations, organizations, like I'm sure we could do a little bit of research, and maybe there's a couple that we can support.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's probably we can find a couple, because everybody's got their own thing.
Sure.
Or whatever. Take the lead from others. Myself, like I'm probably not the person to pave the way on which organizations to pick, but I'm more than happy to jump in on others who are better positioned to make that decision than I am. So cool. If there's anything else, I mean, it's been super awesome talking to you guys tonight.
Thanks for letting me crash your party.
I usually get off these things on Thursday, and I'm like, well, at least the last couple, because it's usually just Chuck and I. And I get off the last couple, and I'm like, I don't know what to say, because it's like, do we say, hey, just pop back on next Thursday because this is so great, or like, do we, like, how do you handle it? Like, I hate being like, oh man, like it's a one-time thing, because every time I'm like, three people so great. Three people so great, but I don't want to.
Right.
Are we done with Turbo? Now does she just have to like be relegated to like being like in the chat? Like, I don't want her to be just relegated to the chat.
Are we? Right. Are we? This is like the first date where you're like, do I go? No, I'm not getting the signal that I should go in for the kiss. But no, absolutely. Okay. Let's plan on doing this again.
This was
super
so
awesome.
We're in.
You guys are the best.
I think we continue to. I mean, it's always obviously helpful, and Chuck, I think we've talked about this. It's always helpful to have like a starting point, like a question that can then turn into an hour and 20 minutes of whatever. So I think it would be kind of cool to just have. Might be kind of dangerous as well, but open up the can of worms of just like an opening topic, and then we go from there, right? It's like an opening topic that's like leather related. I don't want it to be like, hey, what's your favorite, OnlyFans account or something like that, but like something that's kind of relatable in the leather world, and then we can spitball from there.
Look, I think there was clearly demand during this talk for Tyler being naked on the bed, saddle stitching.
Hey, listen, it is what.
That account doesn't exist yet, but
we can I can promise you we can make it happen. I can promise you. But.
Right, then we gotta get together, and we gotta find a farrier to get my feet to the to do a pedicure. That's right. I'm gonna paint them rainbow for Pride.
Oh god.
But I'm not gonna allow any corporate sponsorship of it, though. That's gonna be straight out of my own pocket to paint my toenails rainbow.
Right on. Cool. I'm gonna bounce, guys.
All right,
pals.
Good stuff. Catch up with you.
Yeah. Super good.
Right, see you
we'll
guys.
catch you guys later.
Yeah. Thanks.
Later, guys.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye, guys.